Are you red carpet ready? Everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Taped here in Atlanta, Georgia, one of Atlanta's original audition taping services, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife and best friend, Brooke. She's looking red carpet ready. And now on to our topic. Are you red carpet ready? Okay, so I'm recording this on the heels of the 30th SAG Awards and before the 96th Annual Academy Awards. During awards season, many actors fantasize about walking the red carpet and, of course, getting up on stage to accept that award. But how many of you watching have actually had a chance to walk a red carpet, so to speak? At an award show, a premiere, or a film festival? One, two... Okay, great. It's weird, right? Like surreal almost. And depending on the context, you either felt prepared or more than likely unprepared. Even though we spend most of our days taking selfies, posting on social media, etc., that can still feel like a private experience. I can always retake the selfie, and even though I'm conscious of the fact that I'm making this video for the entire internet, in reality, at this moment, I'm just in my basement. And so when you're suddenly in front of a pool of photographers and interviewers, it can be overwhelming. In full disclosure, even though I've been at several press events in my career, only once have I had the chance to walk the carpet at a film premiere and thus be subjected to the dozens of flashbulbs from the cameras and also be subjected to about a dozen interviewers from various news outlets. It was for the menu, and although I thought I was prepared for the experience, it was still quite surprising. The photos, I'm happy to say, were the easy part of the experience. It was the interviews that kept me on my toes. Some of the questions were fairly straightforward. What attracted you to the project? What was it like working with the director and the other actors? Any juicy stories from on set, etc. But then you get a wild card question like, if you could have dinner with any 5 people, dead or alive, who would they be? Ooh, yikes. Was not ready for that one. I will say that my 15 plus years of improv experience did help, but I still felt like a fish out of water. So with that example in mind, I want to do a flashback, like so many shows do nowadays. It's almost annoying. And talk about the journey to the red carpet so you can take stock of how ready you actually are. And let's start with a simple concept, and that is, as an actor, you are an entrepreneur. In your real job, you may just be an employee, but the moment you switch gears into your acting mode, you are an entrepreneur. And I want to define the word entrepreneur in the following way. An entrepreneur is someone who has a product for which there is currently no established need. Let that sink in. No established need. What does that even mean? You are a unique human. Your collection of atoms has never existed before in the history of the world and never will again. And since, as an actor, you are the product, then when you start acting at the beginning of your career, no one knows they need you. So think about a new product coming to the market, maybe some sort of drink, a soda or a beer. There's a period of time when people are being exposed to the marketing that you're thinking about the product, but you're not quite ready to pull the trigger. Now, some buyers are early adopters and like to be first in line, but the bulk of that bell curve distribution of buyers are waiting for several impressions, which is a marketing term for how many times you see the product in advertising. Now, as an actor, that would translate to auditions. So a casting director needs several impressions of you, i.e. auditions, before they might feel ready to pass you along to producers to eventually cast you. So just to zoom out for a second, even at this stage in your career, which you might feel is long before you're ever going to be on a red carpet, it is important to think about the overall impression you are leaving on these potential buyers. Casting directors, showrunners, producers, or even that prospective agent you're trying to court. In other words, your packaging and your messaging could be the difference between you metaphorically being put back on the shelf or that buyer taking you to the cash register for purchase. It's why it's crucial that even if you feel like you are still very far away from that red carpet, you start acting like you are today. Here's a random example. Even if you're a beginner actor, you need to be treating your audition sides with the utmost respect. Don't share them with anyone. And please, for the love of everything that is holy, do not be posting your auditions online with the volume on. Because if that project hasn't aired yet, well, just don't. That's the quickest way to never be seen by that casting director ever again for the rest of your career, and potentially any other casting director that catches wind of it. It's also why you need to be aware of everything you post on social media or that is otherwise publicly available on the internet. I'm not saying you need to censor yourself, No, you be you. I'm just saying you need to be smart about what you're saying and how you're saying it so that everything you put out there is part of a cohesive message that feels intentional. Something you can stand behind if a random reporter quotes you during an interview on a live red carpet event. You see, when you're a series regular or number one on the call sheet for a film, by the time it gets to the press events and the award shows, you'll have a team that will help you prepare for that event. Not just helping you pick out wardrobe, but coaching you on how to handle these interviews, what to say, etc. But as Coast Guard Dale, I didn't have anybody helping me with that premiere. I did, hilariously enough, have a handler named Oleg, something I was not expecting, and he was so gracious as to give me some last-second guidance before I walked into the fray. But, in short, that first carpet you walk, you'll likely be on your own. So if you start thinking about your overall image now, and I mean that packaging, that messaging, then you'll be so much more prepared when you eventually do hit that carpet. Still not convinced? Still think that your craft is the only thing that matters at this stage in the game? Okay, well, you ever watch Shark Tank? I can't count how many times when I'm watching that, one of the sharks is telling that entrepreneur that they're not just buying the product, they're buying the story of the entrepreneur. So that product you worked on so hard through years of acting training is of utmost importance. I do not disagree with that at all. But of equal importance, and at some stages in the game, maybe even of more importance, is this packaging and this messaging. Because they're buying all of it. And think about it. If you're at that point in your career where you're starting to get press, then it is assumed that your craft is in the right place, that you are on equal footing with all the other actors that are at that stage in their careers. So that's why this packaging and messaging can suddenly become as important or more important than that craft side of things, because people are just assuming that you're good at acting. And with packaging and messaging, of course, I'm also talking about headshots. We host the Sam Christensen Image Workshop, which you know all about if you watch this channel regularly. In fact, we're doing one right now as we speak during the recording of this message. Well, not during. They're not. The students aren't in here. It's happening this weekend. And one of the many reasons actors come to take the workshop is because we talk about headshots a lot and how important they are, and most importantly, how to get amazing ones. And why is it so important? Well, duh. It's because it's the first impression. Think again about seeing that commercial or that billboard or that internet ad for that brand new drink. The colors, the surrounding images, the fonts, the shapes are all meticulously chosen to craft the image and the message that they're trying to deliver to the potential customer. They're not just trying to grab your attention, that's part of it, but they're also trying to tell the story of the product so that when you taste it, it makes sense. It fulfills your expectation based on that marketing. Now, I should say that marketing for products like beer, for instance, involve exaggeration at best and lying at worst. Because quite literally, alcohol is poison to your body. And yet, if you believe a beer commercial, it's the best thing to do after a long day of exercise. So my analogy is flawed because for headshots, you must not misrepresent yourself. And so many actors do. So many. For instance, you see a young woman who, in their headshot, she looks not only attractive, but is selling a confidence and maybe even a sexiness in her headshot. But then you meet her in person and suddenly you're seeing this bright-eyed, nervous, not so confident person who does not resemble that headshot at all. That means that headshot is false advertising. And it's why it is one of the #1 pet peeves of any casting director ever. They trust that when they clicked yes on your headshot to have you submit a self-tape audition, that the video they receive will match that person in the headshot. And I don't mean the length of your hair or the makeup or the wardrobe you're wearing. I mean that essence of who you were selling in that headshot. Do you see where we're going? Before you ever get that chance to walk the carpet, you need to be thinking very intentionally about you. Not only how you come across in your social media posts and your headshots, but what people actually experience when they're in your presence. Because how can you get those accurate headshots? And how can you perfect that messaging, that packaging, if you haven't done the work yet to understand how the world actually perceives you? In a weird way, I need to know what the Matthew Cornwell experience is so that when I work on my messaging and my packaging, I know exactly what to do to be authentic. Ah, there it is. The secret to this career. It's so obvious, so overused, and yet it's the part of the actor's career that seems to be the most overlooked or the most misunderstood. See, when you're authentic, when you are publicly self-accepting, let me say that again, publicly self-accepting, people relax in your presence. They lean in. And the moment someone leans in, you got them. Salespeople intuitively know that if they can get you to uncross your arms and lean in, they are more than likely to make that sale. So you need to do the difficult work to find out how to make your packaging and messaging reinforce your authentic self. Because if you do, you'll find yourself so much more at ease on that red carpet, even if someone does surprise you with a weird question. So start thinking 2 steps ahead in your career, 10 steps ahead. You never know when that opportunity you thought was years away in your career suddenly arrives on your doorstep today. And if that happens, you don't want to suddenly be playing catch up. And hey, as always, I know that I've only really scratched the surface of this topic, so if you have additional thoughts or questions, please leave a comment below. Or check out some of the linked videos popping up here at the end of the video and linked in the show notes below. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the red carpet